This is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to episode 249 of Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending December 24th, 2017. That's right, folks. It's Christmas Eve, and we wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas and a merry, merry New Year, prosperous and all that other good stuff. And of course, our prosperity starts and ends with the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, the smartest guy in the room. Your co-host and mine, Kenny Smyers, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. And you know what? I see why you do that, saying the smartest person in the room, because I'm in my office by myself. And therefore, that would make me the smartest person in this room. So, hey,
accuracy is very, very important, Kenny, in this whole thing.
So, are you all? The question is, are you all set? You got your holiday ears on and everything. You have to play Santa Claus or do anything like that?
We'll be doing some Santa Claus. Our family's sort of been sick. We've been sharing a Christmas virus, so we go back and forth. Evelyn, my 5-year-old, started out being sick. Then it went to Axel. Then it went to Mom. Mom's still sick. Now it's back to Evelyn again. I'm the only one who sort of survived this so far. But all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, right? So
remember that song? I used to sing that silly little song there, but. It's been a year, and I can't believe how fast 360 some days have gone by, or 359, I guess, maybe.
Well, yeah, it has, hasn't it? It goes by like that. And the older you get, folks, for you younger people in our industry, the faster it goes by, man. It's one of God's maybe blessings or curses. I'm not sure yet.
Well, do you know, I finally got a half-decent explanation of why that sensation, of why it's a ratio. So you begin your memory. Most people begin their memory when they're 33 years old. So the year between 3 and 4 represents 100% of your memory. So it's 1 over 1 as a fraction, or 1 over 3, I guess, basically. And then every year that fraction gets smaller. So you can have your mind has the ability to compare it. So it used to be that summers were so long and so endless, and years seemed like forever, and your birthday took forever to come around again. And now instead of it being 1 over 3 or 4. When you get to be our age, it's 1 over 52, 1 over 57, or 1 over 60. So therefore, that fraction's so much smaller, and that sensation, time passes quicker.
Yeah, gotcha, buddy. Well, what about you? You guys all set for the holidays?
We are kind of. We had a ridiculously warm front come in here. It's like 53 degrees, but now it's getting chilly, and we're supposed to get some snow. So it should make things interesting for our family. We've got both my daughters came in, and so we're going to have a full boat, and we're looking forward to it. My wife. Decorated everything up. So I love Thanksgiving's my favorite dinner, but obviously Christmas is probably the time where we get to see everybody, and so we really appreciate that time. And we're not sick yet, but that can change in a heartbeat. It's gone around. The stomach virus. Everybody with the family has their children went through it. It seems so. What's that all about, Mr. Stromquist?
Well, I don't know, Kenny Smyers, but I do know we got a fantastic show this week. We got 2 wonderful, wonderful guests, and man, can't wait to bring them on. But I think we got a couple of shout-outs first, don't we, buddy?
Yeah, we sure do. The first shout-out is to Pat Butler. He's the facility manager at the Carpenters Building at the Greater Council of Carpenters in Pittsburgh, and the Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia, West Virginia. Pat does a great job. He's a fan of Control Trends, and he watches us, and he always compliments you and the work you do, because he knows the difference between the podcast and the video cast. We're two separate animals of a different technical kind, right?
They sure are. Well, thank you so much, Pat. Well, we really appreciate you tuning in, and thanks so much for that sentiment, man. And boy, he does some great stuff up your way. I know you talk a lot about him and the great work that they do up there.
Well, yeah, he's got a bunch of facilities. He's got to integrate, and you got to keep them up and be mindful of the comfort, and then also energy. So he's got some good contractors working for him, Dave Simmers with Rennick and Jim, and they work together to make those facilities run as efficiently and as comfortable as possible. We have a couple of birthdays. If
sure,
we've got a gentleman, Jordan Mouse from. Where is he from? He's a regulator company. Doesn't say it, but I know Jordan personally. He's bright young guy. We talk about our control trends, young guns. Jordan's a young guy. Corey Sargent is celebrating his 2 years at Perfection Group Contracting. Ray Pustinger is celebrating his 12th anniversary. And
whoa, hang on. Ray, is that the guy that used to hang out with the Dunkinator, Scott Duncan?
Good memory. Yes.
Yeah,
yes. He was the marketing guy. So he and Scott, we had them on a couple interviews, and
we did. Scott Duncan was a ex-Honeywell guy. He was a chiller expert. Man, he had this algorithm where he could just squeeze an extra 5 to 10% out of your chiller using these very sophisticated algorithms that he had learned, I guess, over years and years of messing with chillers.
Right, and then his company got bought out by Yardi. So now he actually works in the Yardi organization. But yeah, very bright guy. We congratulate Barry Gordon for starting a new position as Senior National Sales Manager, Sales Engineer at Automation Components, Inc. We've known Barry for a long time.
Yeah, so Barry, what Kenny's trying to say, that whole thing you set up at the front about how things are going to go about a lot quicker now because you're older, Kenny's just saying you're old when he says you're senior. But man, congratulations. Barry's a great guy. Barry Flash Gordon.
And two more, real quick. We've got Sean Hoffman. He's a KNX certified partner. He started a new commissioning technician service role at Siemens. And we have Lisa Payne celebrating 20 years at International Systems of America, LLC, out of Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, listen, I want to give a special shout out to our two masters of ceremonies at the Control Trends Awards that's coming up. One, Kimberly Brown from Cochran Supply. We're going to have a friend of hers on in a little bit. And of course, the MC with the most, our friend Mark Peacock, the Chief Communications Officer and Vice President of Marketing from Linkspring. Mark, man, we appreciate you, buddy. We can't wait to see you in Chicago with the rest of the party. And Kenny, give us an update on the Control Trends Awards real quick. We sold out yet?
Eric, we're getting close to it. We can't thank our sponsors enough, for supporting us, because without the sponsorships and the funds that generates, Chicago is a very expensive city in comparison to some other cities. It's amazing how you can certainly find that out quickly. But the 300-seat capacity is getting to full saturation. If everybody shows and we don't have any weather incidents, we're going to have a full crowd, full capacity, and we're looking forward to it. I mean, it wouldn't be fun unless it was a full, and again, the thing about Chicago, it's got that little, asterisk on it because you don't know what the weather's going to do and how those airports take people and inhale and exhale thousands of people every day. We saw that incident that happened down in Atlanta. I'm not trying to jinx our stuff. I'm just saying that
I was not the one who turned the power off.
We heard that one of your contractors didn't change the fuse or a transformer blew or something. No, I'm just kidding. That's not even funny. I heard that it was a very simple thing that the backup wasn't supposed to be close. Or did you get the full gist of that?
No, I didn't. I was laughing because I remember when a customer and I blew a boiler up down at CNN back when Ted Turner was running CNN. We saw one of these systems, and a contractor put it in, and the long and the short of it, we were tuning the boiler. It was a special boiler system, and if you ever tuned a boiler before, you're looking for a nice blue flame up and down the curve, right? So we'd start out fine with the blue flame at the beginning, and we'd get up closer to high fire, and it would be like this ugly orange yellow, right? So we messed with probably about 2 a.m. And I said, look, dude, I got to go home, man. I don't know what's going on. This makes no sense. We're adjusting. It keeps getting fuel rich as we go up the ladder. He goes, well,
stoichiometric curve.
Yeah, the stoichiometric curve. And so I said, I'm going home. He said, well, I'm gonna try one more thing here and a little bit more. And I didn't get out of the parking lot till he called me on my cell phone. He goes, man, I blew the boiler up. I went back in, man. This guy's covered in soot, right? Totally covered. Blew the back of the boiler out. And what it was the subcontractor that he had hired had wired the air fuel ratio valve in backwards. So in other words, we were going fuel rich and it coughed. So me and Ted Turner hadn't gotten along since, and he had to open up some restaurants and moved to Montana after that. But when you said that about that, it's just silly things like that.
You still got a thing going with Jane though, don't you?
Pardon?
I thought you're still tight with Jane Fonda still though, aren't you?
Who's that? James Bond?
Jane Fonda, Ted's wife.
Well, I'm kind of over Jane. Wish her well. Good luck, Jane. Hope you're well. And but anyway, so my point sort of being is I think we all have those stories, and it's usually something just really silly like that, some little oversight that can cause a big problem. So, but I don't know the 411 on that. But to your point, Chicago is going to rock. We got a different show this year than we've had before. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be fun, and you're going to want to be there. So reach out to our sponsors. They're the ones with the tickets. Special shout out to Honeywell, who is a Platinum Plus sponsor, as well as EZIO. We got 2 Platinum Plus sponsors this year, and they're the ones who just said, hey, we're going to bring so many people. We need some extra tickets. So they've stepped up to the plate, and there are Platinum Pluses this year.
And we'll be getting out the information. The way we have it set up for this year, this show is we're going to email the tickets in a file to our sponsors, and there you'll have a choice. You can either download them, print them out, and then or you can have them on your phone, and then you'll have it numbered so you can give away ticket number 1, 2, 3 up to depends what sponsored level you are, but you'll be able to give somebody so they can come to the entry control area where we're at the show and show their ticket on their phone. I was trying to make it like at the airport or whatever, where you have a choice where you can print out a ticket or you can have it in your phone and have a number assigned to it. So, but it's gonna be fun. I just like you said, we're at the very the hectic stage of everything. So we're getting all the things are being coming in from all points in between. We're going to have a videographer there, Vlad, that's going to do a great job, put a show together like he's done for us.
Yeah, right. So you put on your Sunday clothes, comb your hair, right, wash your ears, right, and come on down because it's going to be a party. And like I said, we had a couple of surprises this year. I think this is going to be our best show ever. And again, thanks to all our sponsors. Merry Christmas to them all. Without them, we couldn't make this happen. And Kenny, look, before we bring our first guest on, we had a couple of posts this week. So what do we have up first?
Well, one of them was like a shout out. We said Troy Meacham. Troy Meacham from ACR Supply in North Carolina has officially taken over the new heating and air conditioning and refrigeration distribution international post as president for 2018. And
at Hardy, right?
That stands for is Hardy. And I was just going to go ahead and show you that Troy. It's a great picture of him giving his acceptance speech. And they did a really good job. They have a nice publication. Can you see that? Okay. But,
yeah, there you go. So Troy, I don't think so. Meacham.
Yeah, that's a great thing I wanted to lead into because one of his main themes was legacy. And he comes from a long, fold of family members' business where they've gone through the ups and downs, and they've gone through the feast of famines, and they've expanded and contracted. And he's a real people-oriented guy. Troy has spoken many times. Most recently, I saw him at CGNA.
He's a great guy.
But his message of legacy is that he said, I believe that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. That's what he says during his speech to the closing ceremony crowd, referencing the nature of many Hardy businesses as a multi-generational family business. And then his last main statement was, it is our duty to preserve the legacy of those who came before us and build our companies. And he asked the crowd at large, let me ask you this. Are we going to let some e-commerce giants come and take away all that legacy from us? I don't think so. So, I mean, it's pretty, must have got those guys roused up there. That's a good, Mitt Romney speech.
Well, Troy in ACR Supply is just, he's a values-oriented guy. He's a reader. He is a philosopher. He is based in principle, runs a magnificent organization. Like you said, it's been passed down, and Troy has certainly taken the mantle and really built the company up. I don't think Hardy could have a better president than Troy Meacham. So, Troy, congratulations. Kevin Parsley, works with Troy, listens a lot. Kevin, make sure to congratulate Troy for us. So, good stuff there. Speaking of legacy, Kenny, let's get right into our first guest because I think legacy might be the theme of the show. How about introducing our first guest?
Love to, Eric. We have Nicole Conklin from Cochran Supply. Nicole is she's rising in prominence in the industry. She started out with Cochran as a OEM sales rep, went into engineering market support, took over to OEM sales, and now she's presently the product manager for Cochran Supply and Engineering out of Madison Heights, Michigan. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Well, so appreciate you being here. Listen, do you ever get mistaken for Nicole Kidman?
No, I haven't.
introduced us to Nicole Kidman. I made hopefully Eric takes that off record, but I had one of those Freudian slips, and
well, Nicole Kidman would be lucky to be compared to Nicole Conklin. And Nicole, last time we saw you, we were at the Cochrane 50-year event, and man, what a spectacular event it was.
Yeah, it was awesome, and thanks again for coming. We enjoyed you guys being there.
Well, we enjoyed being there too. And so, what's been going on at Cochrane since then?
Well, we've been trying to get the Raven launched and doing testing and additional development, and we're hoping to have a full launch in the early 2018. And a lot of planning. We're getting into some new markets in our industry and new product lines, and it's been really busy for us this summer and fall.
Well, you guys always rock and roll and stay ahead of the curve. For our listeners who might not know what Raven is, could you give them an update on that?
Yeah, so Raven is a notification app that you can load on your phone for your Niagara systems or other building automation systems, and you can get notifications of alarms and failures in your building. With this app, you can also turn on proximity. So if you only want notifications while you're in the facility or around the facility, you can turn it on for proximity and only get those alarms then. And then when you're at home for night, you won't get those notifications anymore. Just a simple notification program. Emails get lost, and the alarming through text messages always isn't very clear. So we figured we'd create something that you get an actual notification on your phone, just like, missing a phone call or a voicemail.
Well, because I think the thing is, at least in our industry, emails just really don't work that well anymore because, people get so many emails, or alarms, they just start ignoring them, right? So by doing it this way, you can really customize what you see and what you don't see, it seems like.
Exactly. Yeah, we get so many emails every day looking for more information or, having to solve problems where, they get overabundance and then you start missing them. And then, an email from your system and it's something critical, you could have something damaged in your building and not even know.
Yeah, I agree with this. You have to be able to filter emails now, because even when you have those strings where you have Eric, Nicole, and Ken emailing the same message, using that same reply to, you never really know if it's a new relevant email. So to have this filtering process, I think it's going to be very successful, because you want to know, you're going to be able to differentiate a real alert problem from one that isn't so important and whatever. And then I like that proximity too, because then it's actually relative. Now you set that, and then every day you don't have to reset it. It comes in, it's automatically like that near. Was that the
near field communication sort of thing?
Geofencing
type
geofencing,
thing, yeah.
It knows when you can.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. That sounds pretty cool. Well, Nicole, I had a burning question here. You're up for Woman of the Year, and Eric's going to talk about that. I wanted to know, how did you get into the industry? Because, we see an expanding role of women in the HVAC industry. And I've been in different industries where there's a shortage of manpower. Literally, wasn't enough people to do the job. So the industry resorted to the next available people, and that was the women. And here, the women outperformed the men in many categories, and were very good at doing certain things. And it's like our society had casted roles and whatever, and I think those were broken asunder. But what was your journey into the HVAC industry?
I actually stumbled upon it. I got an opportunity to be a receptionist with Cochrane Supply. And as I started working there and learning more about what we did and about the technologies, I was going to school for computers and computer information systems, so programming, graphics, different things like that. And as we learned the Niagara software and other building automation systems, it just really interested me. You're always going to need heating and cooling in buildings, and the technology is going to just become smarter. And it just really intrigued me. You would have never thought in heating and cooling you can be doing programming and graphical design and different things like that.
Interesting. I was in the Air Force, and we had certain AFSCs where we didn't have enough security specialists, and that's what I was in. And I remember how what an interesting triumph it was when we finally got the fair assessment, and the women were allowed to come in and work in our career field. They quickly filled many, many important roles, and were very successful. Have you seen the kind of a rise in the instances of women being given the important positions and qualifying, being considered not just at Cochrane, but just in our industry, because you tend to a lot of stuff. First time I met you was down at the Niagara training. I sat across from you, and we were at, I think, one of the certification classes, and there was one woman in the room, and that was you. And the rest of them were guys, because it just seemed to be a guy thing.
Well, and Kenny, just so you know, that was almost the end of women in the industry, because Nicole put everybody to shame. So, it's a good thing that we were able to get a little bit humble here, right?
No, but I think it's a great story, because we, at the end of the game, or end result, not the game, the result we're looking for is to reverse engineer different people's experiences of how they entered the career field, how they succeeded, and now they serve as a role model for the next generation to come, the people who are going after beyond the millennials. Now we got another group of people. We need to make our industry exciting. It needs to be a place where people can migrate to and feel very comfortable. And I think having this kind of exposure leads to that kind of result.
Agreed. Yeah, when I got in this industry and started going to conferences, I was lucky if there was maybe 3 women at these conferences, and a whole group of men, but the men and the leaders in the industry just want to give you their knowledge and work with you, and women get very determined and maybe even stubborn at times, and once they get into something, they want to know it all and be good at it. And women are nurturing, and a lot of these projects and customers and relationships need nurturing. And I really think that's why women are so successful in our industry, because some of these projects can be very intimate and detailed, and we're very good with attention to detail and nurturing just because of our.
Well, you have to deal with kids at home. I mean, you have to go through childbirth, and
Exactly.
I was talking to my wife last night, and about the pain, going through pains, because you don't understand pain, man. Try having a baby, right? But I think that there's a lot of wisdom in that men are great at talking about things, and I'm not meaning to put men down, because obviously but if you really want to get things done, I mean, women just sort of have that ability, and I don't mean to generalize, and I'm probably being politically incorrect. I mean this in a very flattering way, and I think that when Scott Cochran goes in the Control Trends Hall of Fame, he's not going to be known for, the stuff he did with Niagara. He's not going to be known for the stuff he did with Honeywell and Johnson and all these other things. He's not going to be known for the work he did with Ford Motor Company. He's going to be known for the fact that he put together one of the best team of overall, but primarily led by women, because one thing about Scott, I mean, he gives you a tremendous amount of authority. Kimberly Brown, I mean, you got a whole team of women. So talk about your team, and I think maybe that's one of the keys to building a successful company.
Yeah, our team's really growing too. We have Kimberly Brown and we have Monica Lubis on our sales team, and they're determined to be able to move up in our industry and learn all of our new trends. And I'm excited to be working with them and sharing the knowledge and everything that I've been through. And, we're constantly looking for younger people to get into our industry and help them with training and learning it, because it's so important. And there's such a shortage of people right now. And anything that we can do, and embrace the women and anybody of the market, really, younger kids, male or female, they're really technology driven. And, once they realize that how much technology is into heating and cooling, I think it'll be easy from there to get more people in our industry.
No, agreed. And one of the things that I like to tell young people, Nicole, tell me if you think this is true. I mean, because if you care about the environment, our industry is the one place you can come in and have a direct impact on the environment, the carbon footprint and everything else, and have the data to back it up, right? I mean, you sell this kind of stuff all day long, and, fair statement, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So give us your best pitch for coming in the industry.
My best pitch.
Yeah. You're talking to a group of young people. Okay.
Young people.
Yeah,
well, if you're looking for something new every day, and technology growing and getting more and more into machines talking to each other and saving the carbon footprints of buildings and of our towns and communities, then this is the industry to be in.
Well done. We are talking to Nicole Conklin, and now you see why she is one of the finalists for the 2017 Control Trends Woman of the Year. All right, Nicole, inquiring minds want to know, okay, what's it like to work for Scott Cochran?
It's amazing. He's always looking for new things and new trouble to get into. And, we're looking at other ways to help our customers be successful and looking at new technologies to make sure that they're protected on networks as we're seeing the IP networks come out now. And he's just very inspirational and always pushing to be the best and the newest at things and understanding everything out there.
We're big fans of Scott. Needless to say, we think he's one of the brightest guys around. As a matter of fact, Ken and I both tried to go to work for Scott, and he said we were too old. So he didn't think we could get the job done. He said, I got Nicole, Kimberly, and the rest of the team. You guys couldn't keep up. So listen, you guys, if our listeners out there might not know, Cochran is one of the largest Niagara distributors on the planet. And you get involved in that a lot, I believe, Nicole. And, you guys work with a lot of the OEMs. You guys got a design staff, engineering staff, and you guys are kind of like the great enablers. And you guys do tremendous training. So speak to some of those, if you would.
Yeah, so we've been with Niagara and the Niagara community since it was really in the market around 99, I would say. And, we've been building our team and our customers and, on this great product line. And we have a whole technical and training center focused around supporting our customers, doing training certification, not only for Niagara, but whether it's general HVAC fundamentals or, certification and field device programming, anything to make our customers more knowledgeable on the products that we're selling on a daily basis. And then we have a full tech support group that helps with R&D on new product lines, helps customers, with custom integrations or just on daily support with the full ticketing system. And we take a lot of pride in what we do to support our customers and the products that we sell. And we want to continue to grow and be able to be successful for our customers' growth and success as well.
Awesome. Well done. I'm on your website right now, and I don't think you could have presented it better, because that's basically what Cochran's known for, and it's in your mission statement. And I think every one of your employees seems to have that great, attitude about, working for a great company and looking forward to a very positive, successful future. And I tell you, that's good stuff. And we hope that the Control Trends community feels that contagious spirit. And I'm very impressed, Nicole. And that's why we're glad you were recognized as the Woman of the Year nominee. And, Control Trends community, this is Nicole Conklin, and this is why she has been so successful. And vote for Nicole, huh?
Vote for Nicole. I tell you, well, actually, Kenny, I have to be really careful, because I think there are about 15 of you guys on the ballot that made the finals, and we can't afford to get sideways with any of you. So, but if you like Nicole, give her a vote. but you can say vote for me for sure. And
by all means, this is your opportunity. And thank you for taking time to have this interview. But I think the exposure is what's really everybody's a winner here. I'll tell you, you've already proven yourself to be successful, and you don't need anybody to vote you to know that you've been very successful. Because again, I've known you for many, many years, and I've watched you ascend into the management aspects of a business. Began as a reception, and now you're managing departments, and you have responsibilities that aren't getting any easier, and the technology isn't getting any. It might be easier in the integration points from where we were 5-10 years ago, but still it's a very challenging. Every day is an adventure. You don't know what's going to go down, what's going to go south, and what phone's going to ring and start ruining your day. So I just appreciate the professional spirit that you embody. So great job.
Great job.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate you guys interviewing me today and what you guys do for our industry and getting the word out there. And, we really appreciate what you guys do on a daily basis.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole. And I tell you what, I think Nicole and Cochran speak to two things. First of all, the fact that this is a great industry, and if you're willing to work hard like Nicole or anybody, whether you're man, woman, or whatever, you can succeed in this industry. And I think it also speaks very, very highly of Scott Cochran, the fact that he recognizes talent, recognizes people that work really hard, and he moves them up the chain. And, you guys just have a fantastic team. And, of course, Kimberly Brown is our mistress of ceremonies at the Control Trends Awards, and you guys are going to be there. So you'll get a chance to meet Nicole and the rest of Team Cochran at the 2017 Control Trends Awards. Nicole, thanks so much.
Thank you. You guys have a great day and a good holiday.
Merry Christmas. You too.
Yep.
All righty.
Merry Christmas.
Kenny, man, great stuff from Cochran Supply as always. What do we have up next, Big Dog?
Well, next up, we took kind of a turn to the what's going on in the world around us. Kind of an interesting post you put up called "Millennials Demystified: How They Can Save Smart Building Controls." And I remember the first time I heard the term "gray hairs" leaving the building was Paul Oswald at I think was it the Realcomm or was it AHR?
You call it tribal knowledge leaving the building, right?
Yeah, but he referred to the tribal knowledge inside the mind or the heads of those gray hairs. Because
I got a comment going. You wish you had a gray hair on your head still.
Well, you know what the thing about it is maybe that was long enough where I didn't have all gray hair. But the interesting aspect is that we are challenged as an industry day in and day out, and one of the biggest, most incredible phenomena that happen is that we have these corporations, whether they're the large Fortune 500 ones or the small, 10 to 15, 25, and they go out and they recruit people, they get them into the system, and they want it to work well, and they think they've recruited well because the person's, the millennial has got great grades, whatever. But inside the millennial, they're saying that there's issues, and this gentleman here, he does a great, Simon Sinek, he called it one of the best speeches ever because he explains. That there's really compelling reasons why it happened and how our society went through a particular period where we didn't, manage. The parents, failed in so many regards. He said that to, grow your children up, realistically, the sixth place trophy, it's not the way the world works. So these people, these kids were raised wrong. They came out expected in a world that was very, bitter to them, and wasn't soft on them, and that they had wrong expectations. They had no patience, no sense of patience, and they were overrun by technology. And this, you say about dopamine, so if you send somebody a text and they'll text you back right away, you get all upset, like what's going on? We just saw the movie Jumanji, where the girl can't understand she does a pretty picture for her boyfriend, and he doesn't, text her back within 10 minutes after she posts it. She looks bad because the timing between the send and response is measured as a form of measurement of how somebody likes him or doesn't like him. So let's start with this, Kenny, because this is really a marvelous video. And Simon Sinek is a guy that we posted his stuff with Start With a Why. He is probably one of the great thought leaders, business thought leaders around today. And I think it's an unintended consequence, right? I mean, I don't think he's saying that any of these parents had anything but the best intentions for their kids. But I think it is a combination of, hey, you can do anything you want to, unrealistic expectations. You can do anything you want to, but you have to be willing to fail to get there. You have to be willing to work hard to get there, not wanting their kids to get their feelings hurt. So everybody gets a trophy like you talk about. Couple that with social media and all that brings to the table, Kenny, and it's a disaster for people that in our industry to be very unhappy as employees. And he talks about how he meets this millennial. He's been in the company doing really well. He's been there less than 3 or 4 months, and is talking about leaving because they're not thinking they're making a big enough difference. So what I loved about this video is he sort of explains how we got there. He explains the mindset of the millennials, but more importantly, he sort of explains, okay, this as a business leader or a manager is what you can do. This is what your millennial, your younger employees that are maybe disillusioned with the situation need from you to sort of talk them off the ledge and have them, get back on board. So I think it's a very timely, very informative video, and so glad we were able to find that and put it up. Yeah, because so many of us have to go to an environment where we need to be able to deal with people that aren't from the same time references. And again, I use the reference of Jumanji because it's a game where, and to tell some of the story of the movie, is that the guy goes back to 1996, and then these people come back and meet him in 2017, and he doesn't know he's been there in the game for that many years. But what their trends were, what the fads were, what their common core references were, what the things that turned everybody on at that time were so different. And it basically was a good reference point to what he was saying, that, the environment that we're in has such a big importance on how well we perform and how well we think we're succeeding. And so having more intricate knowledge of that, having an understanding of how people tick that are maybe 25, 30, 40 years younger than you is very important. You and I went to the ABCS in Johnson. It was out in the desert. I think it was Arizona.
2 years ago. Yep, in Arizona.
Well, it was one of the best, and Johnson Controls hired some very, very high-level consultants to come in and analyze their business. It's the first time in the history of humankind we have five generations could possibly be working in the same building, and how the first oldest person in the building might be 76 years old and still be relevant, might be have ownership, but he's walking down towards his office, and he's looking right and left, and he sees a lot of vacancies in the chairs, and he sees a lot of people holding smart devices up, and he's thinking, man, what the heck is going on here? Get to work. Where's everybody at? And then he doesn't know that he's not aware that the person might be using their smart device because the company doesn't have access, or doesn't give them access to some important information that they're tracking down, and they can do it much better with their own device than they can using the limits of the corporation's network or whatever. And so Johnson did a great job saying that
did.
Every single time that you have they to them, if they brought they do those heavy duty recruiting, they're the best talent in the world, and then they lose them in 2 years. That's a very, very big expense. That's an investment lost.
Well, what it is, and if you're going to lead and if you're going to manage, you have to understand, the psyche and the expectations and how people were raised, and I think Simon does a really great job of that. So
that's great.
Must listen to. Well, hey, speaking of people that are on top of all of the trends and what's going on, Kenny, I am so excited about our next guest. How about introducing her?
Love to, Eric. I'm very, very delighted to introduce Rawlene Oakes, consultant with the Channel Company. Just an amazingly brilliant woman with a lot of good news, and we love to hang out with gurus because they make us smarter in the long run. Welcome to the show, Rawlene.
Welcome, Rawlene.
Thank you, Kenny and Eric. Thanks for the great introduction. Totally appreciate it. Excited to be here and to chat with your folks.
Well, let's start right off, because I tell you what, your resume, the first time you reached out and we connected, I sort of went on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was about 15 columns down because everything from the Wall Street Journal to everybody else was writing about you. Talk a little about your background, Rawlene, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely happy to. I started technology at IBM Corporation, and I was a channel chief, or the VP of the channel for the Americas for IBM and software. From there, I was at Oracle, and so I've spent the majority of my career working with resellers, systems integrators, and other technology players for IBM, Oracle, and other companies. From there, when I finished up, just moved on over to the Channel Company, where I had been a client for many, many years in their consulting organization. I was fortunate enough to come to work for them, and I get a chance now to work with folks like you.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled about that. And I tell you, for our committee, as you know from our conversations, Control Trends, we try to track the trends, that are affecting our industry, which is smart building controls. We might call it the OT of the IT and IoT. So having you on with your experience is absolutely phenomenal. So let's start with a little bit about what the Channel Company does. And for our community, I tell you what, we are so lucky that we're getting to talk to Rawlene. And I think, making you available to our community, I think is a huge win for everybody concerned.
Not at all. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. So let's talk a little bit about the Channel Company then. The Channel Company is the parent company. Underneath the parent company, people may or may not recognize the trade publication CRN, or Computer Reseller News. Computer Reseller News was the de facto standard trade publication for IT, systems integrators, and resellers for the entire time I've been in technology, which are more years than I'd ever want to mention. But and it's that reason that we were always a client. We advertised and recruited systems integrators, resellers, value-added resellers through the Channel Company's publication. So number one is CRN, Computer Reseller News. The Channel Company also has another division that's an events division, and we bring in resellers to maybe 5 events a year across the country, where the vendors, and these vendors are IBM, Microsoft, Schneider Electric, APC, PTC, Intel, Cisco, and others, stand up and share with our integrators and resellers what the technology strategy is for each of these companies. So the second group are these events. The third group would be my organization. We are the consulting organization. Our clients are Intel, Cisco, IBM, Microsoft, Schneider, Siemens, KMC Controls, and others. Our job is to be sure that the channel, which are both integrators, and today they are continuing to be OT integrators, as well as IT integrators and resellers. Our job is to be sure that these channel partners are successful with the vendors.
You know, Rolene, it's perfect timing in our world. We have seen a control trends. We track the trends that are most frequent in our year of industry, and the OT, which is the operational technology, which controls things that go off and on, up and down, elevators, furnaces, boilers, chillers, really important equipment, versus IT, which is information technology, and it's more data driven. And even though it's critical and very important, it's not as critical as OT. And when we first talked to you, you just took this all in stride, because it was like you had recognized all these symptoms, and you've already dealt with these kind of storms before, and the information you have is what you can offer our industry is some very well proven steps to take, strategies, because you've seen this before. Tell us about that previous collision that you told us about.
Sure. Well, you know, Kenny, on that note, one of the things that we spend a lot of time doing on behalf of the industry for our clients is research. We research trends. We watch the trends and we look forward. So we have been watching the IoT collision. So IT and OT partners coming together. We've been watching this now for about 2 years. We've been researching it and we've been publishing it. And what we started to see were trends that we saw maybe 7-8 years ago. And if we look back 7-8 years ago, we saw a different collision, and that was around cloud. That collision showed us IT partners as well as telephony partners, because if we take a look at cloud was driven by telephony, and all the telephony was underneath. And we started seeing the channel partners from Verizon, AT&T, CenturyLink, Comcast, those types of vendors come into our ecosystem. But those vendors started showing up at our events, and they started recruiting IT resellers with security knowledge, with data center knowledge, with Microsoft Office knowledge, and they put them together with their channel partners who understood telephony, long distance voice, data, internet, and together those partners started to drive the new version of cloud-based solutions. And it's funny because we're using Microsoft Skype today as part of our vehicle. Back 7-8 years ago, it was still called Microsoft Link. It was before Microsoft bought Skype. But if you take a look at what Skype is, it's a combination of both IT and telephony coming together to enable these types of things. And that's why the two ecosystems collided to make cloud happen. The number one thing we saw, vendors we hadn't done business with before. AT&T and Verizon were not our traditional vendors. Our traditional vendors were Intel, Cisco, IBM, HP, Dell, EMC. Those were our traditionals. But over the last 7 to 8 years, AT&T, Verizon, and the others have now become part of our traditional client space, as have their channel partners. So that's the difference. Now, I can talk a little bit when you're ready about, well, what happened with that collision, but that's something we saw, and we see it happening today with people like Schneider, KMC Controls, Siemens, starting to recruit our partners at our events. So we're starting to see that movie happen all over again.
Well, as we told you before, we're kind of freaking out because, we go to these conferences that are typically, smart building controls, and all of a sudden Intel's standing up saying, we're going to do this, and Cisco. So a lot of people in our industry have sort of been reeling a little bit, sort of freaking out about, well, we're going to lose out on this. And what I hear you saying is that, no, not necessarily. If history repeats itself, it's more of a working together as opposed to working apart. And, one of the things you had told me is like there's a playbook, right? And so you've seen it before. So I think that's good news for our industry. So speaking a little bit, because we are talking about OT and IT colliding, we're talking about new players coming into the space. And speak a little bit about sort of, the pivot and the turn. And it's not necessarily bad news for our folks, is it?
Not bad news at all. And in fact, as we look over the last 24 months and we look at partners who have been successful selling IoT-based solutions, whether they came from the OT side or they came from the IT side, one thing we saw in common, they teamed with somebody for the skills they didn't have.
Nice.
We saw that something like 57% of OT partners who came into an IT solution with a customer, they teamed with an IT partner for edge-based security time and time again. After edge-based security, they started teaming with IT partners for data analytics and analysis. Those are the two most common things we see in our research when OT partners are coming to the table around an end-to-end solution. Okay? And I can do the inverse. The inverse is not as exciting to you. I mean, the IT partners come forward and they're teaming for vertical skills. They don't have nearly the vertical skills that your constituents have. And frankly, that's a leg up because if you have the vertical skills, you have access to the customer. If you have access to the customer, you've got the decision maker and you control the sales pursuit. And that's something that right now not most IT partners have.
That's incredible. I feel as though these are revelations that I've always sensed. We were close. Eric can always pull on the string, and we see where it takes us to. And Eric said, "Ken, you got to meet this Raulene. She's really able to convey in very simple, understandable terms what's going on." Because it seems like Eric said, it's our guys get freaky. If something is out of the ordinary, and they see a Dell or an IBM in a room with a bunch of vendors and manufacturers for controls, they can't link the parts and pieces. But I think it's what's happening is what you're saying is it's like somebody took all the puzzle pieces and kind of put new ones in and then shake the box up and then put them back down and they start naturally forming. I think the comment you made about team with others with skills they don't have, we have seen that kind of organically grow now with our master systems integrators that borrowed heavily from IT skills and networking skills that weren't necessarily part of our scope, our sequence of operations, things that we were really good at. We're turning equipment off and on, optimizing, start and stop, energy efficiencies. But we really kind of like wanted to stay in that little small circle of organizational requirements. We didn't want to learn about cybersecurity. We didn't learn about. So our industry has been slow to adopt. But now I think when this message comes out and it seems so logical now, and it's already, like Eric said, there's a playbook already pretty well written where this is probably what's going to happen next. But then you said that the OT having the vertical access, inside of an organization is so true. We're the ones that probably talk to the people that say, we're good, we're happy, we're satisfied, or we're going to get this fixed. Here's the priorities, here's our budget. And that's probably outside the immediate reach of some of these really big players that have the technology, but they can't get down into the cracks of an organization and create a sale or influence a sale. That is marvelous insight. So thank you.
Yeah, no, the IT folks don't have the relationships. Flat out, they do not have those line of business vertical relationships. You all have those. So if you can leverage those relationships and bring in the IT people to complete the skills that you all don't have, you have a complete opportunity to control that sell cycle.
So,
now, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, Raulene, it's kind of like, would you play matchmaker? Can you maybe have a party and invite us and invite them, and then we can all get together? And because what you said earlier was that the IT people are kind of freaking out about this too, right? Especially the smaller companies. How are we going to survive as these two technologies begin to intersect?
Well, it's interesting. Yes, let's talk about matchmaking in a minute, but let's come back to what you just said, the IT people. If we take a look at what's happening in the industry, I think it was Mark Hurd, president at Oracle Corporation, who said by something like 2025, 80% or more of the corporate data centers will be gone. Everything will be running at Amazon Web Services or Microsoft or Rackspace. I mean, flat out, hands down, data centers are going away. If IT partners don't figure out how to team with your vertical integrators and sell IoT, the addressable budget is shrinking. they have to find a way to go sell to the new decision makers who are outside of the data center. So it is very much a wake-up call for them. Now, this is a group, however, who has been transitioning or pivoting or turning their business model time and time again. And the last time they made this pivot, the last time they turned was 7 years ago when they had to pivot and turn for cloud. And this is another one of those inflection points. If they don't make it, they will cease to be relative in 3 to 5 to 7 years, right? So that's kind of what it looks like, because let's face it, Amazon's getting bigger, Microsoft's getting bigger, Rackspace is getting bigger, and the local integrator on the IT side has fewer and fewer things to manage.
Well, and Raleigh, the other interesting piece too that we're seeing a trend we're seeing on our side that you might not be aware of, because everything is being pushed up to the cloud. But to send data up to the cloud and then send it back down can be expensive, especially vis-a-vis a building. So one of the big things that we're seeing in our industry is what we call edge controls. In other words, we're developing controls that could do more of those analytics actually on the edge. So again, that would be a great marriage for the IT partners that need to understand that what's expensive to send stuff to the cloud. So the next trend we're seeing is going to be a combination of cloud and edge being the new player at the dance. So again, another possible synergy at the dance, right?
So let's talk about edge and edge computing. I will tell you that it is only the most basic IoT solutions today that are doing any kind of analytics or compute in the cloud. Anything that is truly sophisticated, anything that can truly drive customer ROI. Customer ROI drives budget. Anything that drives ROI is happening at the edge. The analytics are happening at the edge. The security is happening at the edge. And so that compute continues to move further and further out to an edge. So when you take a look at Cisco, like let's just take their platform, their communications platform, their security platform, and then their IoT platform, everything is with that goal of moving the compute to avoid the cloud. And the more we can do that with Red Hat, with Cisco, with your skills, the more we can do that, the faster we drive customer ROI, the faster we capture budget, the faster we sell. Bottom line.
Interesting. One of the trends we're seeing too, Raleen, that's gotten really big from the owner perspective, we're talking commercial buildings here, is that there's a thing that buzzword that goes around either the $300 rule or the 10x, 100x, or 1x, 10x, 100x. And essentially it's this. Our industry used to sell based around energy and ROI with energy. That makes up, for every square foot of real estate you have, that would make up a 1x or a $3 per square foot. All the stuff you put into the space, the equipment and the building and all that would be the 10x, right? So, but then the 100x or more is the people in the space. So using analytics or R-type controls to make people more productive in the space is becoming a selling point and the drive for the real estate people, because if your people come to our space, we can show that your people will be 10%, 15% more productive because of the environment and all these other factors. That tends to be what's driving the decisions now more so than energy, because energy, at least in most of the country outside of California and maybe Texas, is relatively inexpensive. Are you hearing any of that through your research as well?
So we probably don't drill down into smart buildings quite the way you do, but I'll tell you what we hear. Those efficiency observations that you have, those come from what we would call two things. They would either be insights or foresights. And in your space, in smart buildings, it would be the insights. It would say, let's understand the data that comes from the sensors, the efficiencies, all of those types of things, so that we can show you how to become more efficient, how you will become more competitive. What are the insights? What are the things we understand? Those insights drive customer decisions, which drive ROI, which drives budget. The other side of it, analytics, gives us also foresights, and we see foresights. I'll show you in a manufacturing environment. When you hear about predictive maintenance, how we fix the robot on the factory floor before it goes down, those are foresights. So we're real big on insights and foresights. Tell me what I learned from the data and make me more efficient, more competitive, more everything, or tell me what I don't know that can predict so that I can avoid something. Those come back to ROI, they mean money, and that's how you sell. And it just keeps coming back to how do you sell, how do you sell, how do you sell?
Well, I tell you what, we are definitely have commonalities with that language there, because we have some really strong analytic players in our industry, and again, selling exactly the same way you are. Foresight, we call it predictive maintenance, is a big buzzword. So Kenny, I know you're chomping at the bit with your next question, so I'm gonna let you have it, because I'll dominate this conversation if you let me, buddy.
Well, first of all, we have to get a commitment from Marlene that she has to come back. You must promise right now that after the New Year's, we come back for phase 2 of this, because here's what's going to happen. This is going to energize our Control Trends community. People are going to really dig this, because it means it's so relevant and it comes from a different perspective. But we have kind of a doomsday style of reaction. You know, some people, again, they don't want to accept and embrace change. They're in a sweet spot. We have to go into that commentary you made about you either drive ROI, you capture budget, you drive budget. You know, these are like Eric said, terms that we are kind of really familiar with, but most of the people we deal with are in their sweet spots of their careers. They're anywhere from maybe like 50 to 65. And in fact, our whole industry is aging at a very alarming rate. In fact, we've got studies saying that year 2024, 60% of the people that currently reside in our industry will retire, and the pipeline does not support this. So we're going to rely more and more on AI. We're going to rely more and more on machine to machine, because we don't have people that used to have a job and have a link in the equation. They're going to be passed over by some form of new technology to replace them. But how do we get people that are in the sweet spots of their careers that are very important? They're in charge of maybe a municipality or a school district or a large real estate holding, and they just want to hang tight for 5 years and call it quits and do as little adoption as possible, but yet they control. They don't, even the greatest stories on ROI doesn't summon them to action, because they don't want to risk things at this part of their career. So we have to soften that message and constantly redo our pitching and selling, like you said, to motivate.
Are you seeing that on the OT side as well, Raylene, what Kenny's talking about, just the reluctance to move, or on the IT side, are people more
prone to change?
Prone to change, yeah. Well said, Kenny.
So we did a piece of research this last year for our IoT advisory board, and that research was profiling partners who have been successful and what's going to happen to partners who tend not to move. I'm going to tell you, over the last 8 years on the IT side of the house, yes, we had partners. It was about 20% of the population over 10 years chose not to move, and they were ready for retirement. They chose to cash out and sell for their install base with the customers. And that's a valid path if that's where you are in your career. But let me tell you a little bit about both IT and OT partners who continue to lead the change. They see the industry, they look at where the industry's going, and they make a business plan change. And I'm going to give you one example. There's a partner who works with us on our advisory board. Their name is Wachter. They were commercial electrical contractors. And in that space, they came from the OT side of the house. They understood sensors and all of that type of stuff. And halfway through, they started making investments in industrial control type systems. Through the industrial control type systems, they were forced to learn Ethernet networking, because that's how the control systems were connected in the plant floor, let's say, or in the building, whatever the case might be. Through that, they teamed up and learned wireless, right? They got pushed a little further than Ethernet. They got moved out to wireless. Through wireless, they met Cisco partners. They started teaming with Cisco partners because Cisco partners didn't understand what they knew about the OT side of the house. Over time, they bought a very small Cisco reseller. So they built skills, and little by little, they kept expanding from just the edge to industrial control systems to the networking to wireless. They're right in the core smack dab center of IoT, but it comes tops down. They had a vision that said, we're always going to try to forward invest. We are not going to be made redundant or irrelevant. And that was their mission. So I think it's important for everybody to choose which is your path, because you can hold on to your install base and you can cash it out if you're close to retirement. And if not, you probably want to see where the industry's going and then figure out how you start pivoting to follow that or get in front of it.
Well, so that's 2 plays out of the playbook right there, right? The pass, which you'll sell, or You're playing the long game, and good. And I think what I hear you saying too, the good news is if you decide to stay in the game, it seems like the industry is really looking for people or companies to reinvent how we're doing it, right? It's like you got these two different pieces that you're trying to put, probably more than two pieces to pull together. And it seems like both sides are approaching it from opposite sides. So it seems like there's tremendous opportunity. And that's kind of what you guys do, right? And just sort of lay out the opportunities and how people can take advantage of them.
Absolutely. And that's something, to Kenny's point, I can come back in the future and I can tell you how it is partners start to build skills that are close to their core competencies, but expand their reach. And in doing that time and time again, that's how that pivot gets made. And I can show you where they meet in the middle. And because we do see a space where OT partners are meeting with IT partners over and over again, and they're being fairly successful. So we don't have to get overwhelmed. You can take it in pieces. And that's what we see the most successful partners do. You just break it down, say, what are my core skills? What am I going to do? Let's get there. I'll tell you another thing that makes a couple partners, most partners, very successful is teaming up with their vendors. And somebody like Schneider Electric, who, if you take a look at Schneider, they've largely been in the enterprise for many years, large type, smart type solutions. But this year, in 2017, they introduced a small and medium business smart building solution. And if you take a look at their distributors across the country, they're standing by ready to train, and they will train OT partners as well as IT partners. So when we're not really sure which way to go, we look for things that can mitigate risk. And things that mitigate risk are vendor programs that will help you add new things to your line card. So that's just an example.
No, agreed. And we know Snyder very, very well. Kenny, I do. We know Gina Elliott, which I think you know as well. And she's one of the really, really sharp folks in our industry. Well, Raleigh, I had a teacher once who said, in God we trust and all else get data. And I want to speak with that because this is not just opinion on your part. I think part of what the channel group does is you've got the case studies, you've got the data, you could sort of, like you said, you've tracked companies through changes like this, and you know it works, not just based on opinion, but on data. So speak, if you would, about what the channel group does and how, because I guarantee you, Kenny, we're going to have a bunch of people want to know how they can work with Rolene or her services. So what do you guys do, and how do people get hold of you, and how do they engage you, I should say?
The best way to engage us are through our events and through podcasts like this, where we have a chance to be guests. Our clients tend to be, Schneider and Siemens and Microsoft. Our clients are the vendors. That's where we do most of our work. And that work, once done, we turn around and make available to systems integrators. We speak, whether it's at our events, whether we do it online. And I'll give you an example. If you go to, I think it's IoT Connects, IoTconnects.com, your folks can do a Google search for the channel company IoT Connects. That's a free webinar. It was a full day conference that was delivered via webinar where the vendors came in, pitched, and we had everybody from GE Digital to IBM and others. And everybody pitched IoT, the strategy, and what the story was for partners. That's what we do. We'll do our work for vendors. They pay us. Then we make the information available to integrators and resellers to be sure that the channel grows. If the channel grows and is successful, then we are successful with our vendors.
Very cool.
I love that. There we go. There's our co-opetition.
Well, Well, I just got to say, Rolene, I hope your speaking schedule is open in 2018, because I have a feeling your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. Kenny and I attend, the vendors have big events. They're always looking for great speakers. And do you actually do the public speaking as well?
Yeah, I think I did a little bit at IoT Connects. I was also at Cisco's partner conference and worked there with their IoT day. And there's more of us. I mean, we're a whole crew of folks there.
Yeah, but you're ours. You are official. We're adopting you. You're officially the Smart Channel person. So no, we don't want anybody else. We want you. But listen, Jim Young, pay attention, because there's some huge conferences coming up in 2018, and I know they're going to get you there. And listen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. And Kenny, any final questions, or Raleigh, any final comments?
No, because I think again, Raleigh, I really appreciate you having not only is it fun to talk to you, I feel like I've attended a webinar here, because we will immediately put this to work in service. I mean, we have people that are very thirsty for this new, fresh information that makes sense, because again, there's a lot of cacophony in our communication between vendors and between contractors, and having an organized explanation of this is all kind of natural stuff happening when you have this much technology and this much these gigantic clouds, IoT, having OT and IT literally colliding, and then all the precipitation of the new stuff. I love these analogies, and I really think that it's a good fresh breath of air, because it's starting the new year out. People want to know where they're going to spend their time, money, and energy, and having the ability to navigate through things and talk intelligently about taking your core competencies and moving laterally across to the next area, develop your skill sets, and having that kind of strategy and that kind of talk. We've a lot of people that are very reluctant to share. Their biggest fear they have is that if they do engage in collaboration, they're going to give away the secret sauce that's been keeping the doors, keeping the lights on. And see, that mentality is it's almost like having a story to tell. And I think what you're doing is you're helping to improve all of our storylines. That this isn't the sky isn't falling. This happened in other industries. It's happened in our industry, and this is the managed way to deal with it.
Yeah, but Kenny, I think the other thing too, I want to hop in real quick. I think the other thing is that you have to cooperate in this. I think the big difference is, and Rawlene, tell me if I'm off on this, the big difference was 20, 30 years ago, you kept all the information yourself because that's what you were trading on. It was before the internet, right? So if you knew something somebody else didn't do, you didn't tell them, but now they just go on the internet, they get it. So we still have some vendors, we still have some players in our industry, Rawlene, that still feel that way. It's us against them. And Kenny has a phrase called co-competition, where, one day you might be competing, the next day you're cooperating. And I think you have to sort of have that mindset.
What's interesting about that is Kenny, I think to your point, we all acknowledge in the industry, we can't be successful anymore on our own. The technology has become so complex. From the time that you get from vertical knowledge all the way to big data with edge security in the middle and everything in between, it is so complex that even Dell, whether it's Dell, GE, big folks like IBM, Global Services, and Deloitte, they're all teaming at the mega enterprise level, and they have been for 3 years or more, putting the solutions together. The teaming is now getting down to the $1 million partner, the $500,000 partner, the $5 million partner. And that's where it's critical in order for us to play. As these solutions come down to mid-market and SMB, without teaming, it is literally impossible to have the breadth and depth of skills to make the customer successful. So that's the bottom line. And yes, I'd be happy to come back another time and show you some of the data that starts to show these two types of partners. We see OT partners out there that say, I just want to stick with edge devices and I really don't want to learn anything else. And that's where they're going to be. But we also see OT partners who say, I've done a lot of edge devices. I'm now moving to the control units. And from the control units, I'm moving to IoT platforms so that I can get involved in analytics. And if I can control analytics, I can control the customer ROI, I can control the sales pursuit, and I move higher in the whole hierarchy. So it really depends what you want to do. There's lots of options. You just got to put a stake in the ground and then work to it.
Nice. Well, are there any events you guys are having this year that our community would be open to our community that they could come to?
So here's one where you don't even need to get on a plane. We will have another IoT Connects in the April timeframe and another one in the October timeframe. We opened it up for the first time this last year in October to the OT channel, and it's electronic, it's online. What I'll do, Eric, is I'll get you the information and the link as that stuff comes out.
Perfect.
You share it with your group. You guys can go back to October and look at what we did in October, and then you can come again in April, come again in October again, and you don't even have to get on a plane. If you want to do more than that, we can talk about it, but I'll tell you one other thing that we could do. You mentioned that we do research. Everything we do is based on research. We don't pontificate. We get the data and we analyze it. We're getting ready to do our 2018 research around IoT, and we would love to have some of your constituents respond to the surveys, like a 20-question survey electronically. And then when we get the data, we'll share it with you.
Well, that sounds great. Now, how would is there a mailing list they can get on with you guys?
We're going to do it through you.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah, well, and you'll tell us, either we'll push it to your folks or you can push it to them. We'll collect the responses, we'll tabulate them, and bring back the data.
Perfect. Well, listen, Rolene, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on. Our community is really, really lucky that we've got you on the show. So thank you.
We feel the same way. We are thrilled to have the two-way conversation, thrilled to have open dialogue with the OT side. Love smart building. Thank you for having me.
You bet. We'll get you back soon. Have a great day. Thanks again.
Thanks, Kenny.
Man, Kenny, I tell you what, so glad that Rolene, we got a chance to meet her, and boy, great stuff there. Encouraging news. Learning how to make the turn. I'm so pumped up, buddy. So, all right, man. Well, what do we have up next, man? We got to rock and roll here.
Well, we're going to continue on the Control Trends Awards Most Impactful Marketing Video Collateral. This is, again, video, product rollout, whatever. And, another really, really great entry was Belimo's entry. And that was the marketing team put together a very informative video. It was cool. It was about a new product. It involved the Take Your Daughter to Work Day. And he really got a great message across. So I enjoyed that. And Belimo really knows how to do it. They got a great product, 5-year warranty, that Belimo zone valve, just an amazing product because it's small, compact, and they're very proud of it. So it's a great video to watch.
Belimo keeps coming up with great products. Like Kenny and I have been talking about this year. I think this year really is the year of the marketing team being the differentiator. More so than ever, we talk about the fact that if you don't have a great product, you're not in the game. If you don't have great customer support and great customer service, technical support, you're not in the game. If you don't have a competitive price, you're not even in the conversation. So the differentiator, Kenny and I say, comes down to the messaging, and that's why this award this year, I think, is a harbinger of great things to come. And Belimo did a great job with this, Kenny, because what they did, they combined a technical product, a superior technical product that could have very easily gotten sort of lost in the specifications of the product with an emotional impact to bring your daughter to work. And it was just so well done. So Lisa Hickey and the team at Belimo, congratulations. Wonderful, wonderful video there. But Kenny, I tell you what, every time we post one of these for this award, these finalists, I'm blown away. I'm blown away at the quality of the work. And I've spent time studying, filmmaking and stuff like that. I take all those courses I can, and they're telling stories here. They're taking the same techniques and the same principles that a Francis Ford Coppola would use to create a great movie, and they're putting them in their marketing pieces. So completely blown away by these things.
Yeah, you're right. It's all about telling a story. So you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the beginning is you got to catch somebody's attention. You got to do something that is going to make somebody stop. And we know that there's techniques of framing, and the professionals know how to frame something to catch somebody's attention. Right. Then to tell the story without, like you said, over technifying them and making them feel overwhelmed and get bored because their attention span is so limited. And then 3. You give them an ending, a conclusion, and a call for action.
And then the emotional content. All right, ask you a question. Most impactful Coke commercial you've ever seen? Coca-Cola.
I'd say there's a couple of them.
Yeah, there are a couple of them because they're great.
The one that's famous is there's 2 of them.
Well, don't forget, I'm thinking Mean Joe Green, right?
Well, that is the number one. Yeah, showing a jersey to the guy. But the other one is that Christmas one, build a world of perfect harmony. That was one of the most widely, because that was a global one, So
it was global. My point being, they get you emotionally. If they get you emotionally, you remember them. And that's what I'm loving to see from the different marketing departments coming in. I mean, they're really understanding this. They're creating videos with emotional impact. And I think that's going to be great, among other things, for attracting people to our industry because we're tapping in the motion. But what I think. Go ahead.
I think you have to, because when we talked about the pendulum, we talked about the me generation, we generation, right? And again, some of the kings of marketing is McDonald's, Pepsi, Coke, all the people that really, they're trying to build a global message, so it has to be consistent, But if you're trying to talk about, I think, or you get some sort of aerostatic aristocratic guy saying I want something, or snapping his fingers, how that might not resound the current
right. Kenny's referring to a book he and I both read a while back called Pendulum. We've talked about it on the show before, where this group of people went back to 300 or 400 years, and every 1,000 years, and they basically charted out all the different, and they broke it down to what we call me, we sort of dichotomy, right? And me meaning it's all about me, like the 80s when Reagan was in office, it was a me generation, right? J.R. Ewing was the guy, because everybody wanted to see stuff about the me. It's all about me. The we generation would be more like the 60s, where we're coming together as a people. And the whole point of Pendulum was, if your marketing has to be in concert with the me, we generation. And he always talks about, and we've been in a we generation for a while, Google and all that. So we, right? I think they talk about the outlier. So I think Trump is probably the indicator of we're getting ready to go back to more of a me generation, maybe. But that's what will be next. And then your marketing better get back to what's in it for me.
Well, he went all the way to the hit songs, the hit movies, but like McDonald's, it says remember, you deserve a break today, so get up and get away to McDonald's. So with McDonald's during the me generation was talking, the marketing message was addressed to every single person as a separate entity, and you, and they did hair colors. Some of the greatest marketing was done to make either lavish, you give lavish presents to somebody, or you want to be lavished. So, and then you see Toyota now, where they get everybody in the car. They get a group of kids in the car. So it's all about a group, going together and celebrating life together. But the transition we're trying to say is that the marketing collateral is so important, yet so taken for granted, and yet we're seeing different versions of it, and some of them you can see the marks. You can see how they got some of the heavy lifting done, and you see some that they're putting this I don't know how much money they have, but you can tell they're done professionally, and they're done using city scopes, and then you're doing global things, because this marketing message isn't just for North America, it's for the world. And so I think that leads us into our next effort, and this is done by Siemens, and they were a video finalist, most impact marketing collateral of the year award, and they had a very interesting approach. They did Siemens ingenuity for life creates perfect places, and so they have a picture of basically a scan,
a sonogram.
A sonogram of a child in the embryo, and it says that is the perfect place to begin life. You're in the perfect warmth, perfect, everything's perfect. And then they use that as an analogy and take that all the way to a building and take it to the things that we do in our industry. So
the things that they do. And again, you're using that whole emotional impact, because who's not impacted by seeing a child? Most of us probably remember going to the doctor and seeing our child, with that sonogram. So again, very, very well done on Siemens' part. So, and I think that brings us to our last post, man. I tell you what, it's jingle bells, jingle all the way. Man, I want you to go get on a sleigh and ride around, man. Big Christmas to you. Big Christmas to all our Control Trends community. A special thanks to our guests this week, Nicole Cochran from Cochran Supply and Raleen Ochas from the Channel Group. Thanks so much, and have a Merry Christmas, prosperous New Year, and remember, Kenny Smyers, be bold, stay in control, and be relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. All right, buddy, have a great day. All right, cool. Done.